All right, I know I'm a day late, or technically 2 days late. It's Sunday. I had to, get to bed in a timely manner for the Cedar Point trip for episode 2 of the 2026 season, which you'll be seeing that vlog sometime within the next 2 days, after, mine and Amanda's last hoorah as a romantic ride off into the 4th of July sunset tomorrow. So, therefore, I just wanted to get this out of the way immediately before, we get to all the new stuff we're about to upload later in the week going into the weekend, as well as, catching up on some content in terms of videos I never released in real time. So the Dodge SaveMart 350 at Sears Point Raceway. Something about this race holds a special place in my heart for all the right reasons. And this race wasn't too terrible or very bad or let alone too shabby by any means, but it could have been a hell of a lot better. I mean, we've seen a tad bit better Sears Point races than this in recent memory, like the one last year, and literally the one where my dad's driver got his first career win during the first post-COVID year of 23, 24, 25, 25 we've lived, so far up to including this year included. So let's talk about it. And for once, as good as SVG is at the road courses, he was not him on this day. It was Ty Gibbs. And speaking of Joe Gibbs racing, Christopher Bell is one tough cookie. I mean, a broken wrist, going sideways through the dirt and still came away with the top 5. That's dedication right there. Kind of like what I did for one of my best friends, Ashley Egan, this past, Friday, dancing to Michael Jackson. And even though I'm not the biggest Michael Jackson guy, and the majority of my peers, real life peers are, I did it more for her than I did for myself. But here, Ty Gibbs, wins stage 1, literally. And here, this is where the championship picture got flipped on its lid. Literally, the most dominant driver of 2026 so far, literally lost the point lead for the first time all year. And speaking of 2311, Bubba accidentally got pushed off the course, so NASCAR didn't penalize him for shortcutting the course, considering, and even better, he was being self-aware and literally stopping, thinking that NASCAR was going to penalize him if he kept going, but NASCAR didn't see nothing wrong with it, so that's why they just let him off the hook. And literally, Gilliland, and my boy Riley, his teammate that's about to lose his seat to the up-and-comer Corey Heim, Heim time, literally got into a pissing match. Riley got thrown in the middle of something that Gilliland was upset at his teammate about. Really had nothing to do with Riley. And since Todd is really my boy Zane's teammate, I mean, what was there for me to be mad about? I just found it funny more than anything. But here, Gibbs proved that he was the class of the field by sweeping the stages, literally. And this was the only caution for, incident. My boy Gregson and Josh Berry, who's about to lose his seat to Jesse Love, which is why I did that number 2 RCRC in the Busch Grand National next year, is about to be filled by the son of the Subaru man, David Green, Austin Green. And this one, no, I didn't even cause. It was just, a racing incident where I think Cindric got into the 21. Literally, Gregson got caught in the middle of it. And right here, as far as the in-season challenge goes, in-season tournament, whatever the fuck you want to call it, at the Ty Dillon fan of me got excited here for a second. I thought we were going to pull off the upset for the second year in a row until the power steering went out. So therefore, Denny got lucky right there and really got bailed out for our own issues as a Ty Dillon fan with the power steering going out, eventually losing position. And right here proved like, SVG is being held back by Trackhouse, and, Zilich's talent is being wasted by Trackhouse, early Tractor House at this point, considering normally SVG has the fastest car based on, road course racing being his background behind the wheel of a Winston Cup Series stock car, but that wasn't the case on this day. Even Joe Gibbs racing in 2311, well, I don't want to say 2311, 2311 had a fucking disaster class, including the boss man himself driving for Joe Gibbs, but Joe Gibbs racing outside of Denny and, basically outside of Denny, and Bailey had, what am I trying to say here? Literally, he had something for the current road course master, literally, who's currently 1 win away from tying Jeff Gordon for the most road course wins, literally past Tony Stewart. So, literally, Briscoe, literally caught him. He got right on his ass, but really couldn't pass him. Considering, SVG got run down, but he still managed to hold on to win. I mean, he got run down and almost passed. Literally, the Gibbs guys really proved that they could. At least somebody proved that they could compete with SVG on road courses, and Joe Gibbs Racing proved that on this day. Considering, Ty Gibbs had the best car all day and had the most dominant car instead of SVG. Unlike what we saw in the past, where SVG had both the fastest and the dominant car, but Joe Gibbs Racing, proved outside of Denny that, they could compete with SVG at his bread and butter, considering, Chase Briscoe, if not for that, mistake he made, like in the closing laps, even with that mistake, he was able to run him back down anyway. I bet you without that mistake, he would have, passed him for the lead. And right here, I thought this was going to be a repeat of Tony Stewart, speaking of Joe Gibbs Racing, final Winston Cup win, the Live in La Vida Lab Rats here, where he took the win away from, ironically, a Joe Gibbs guy, a current Gibbs guy, Denny Hamlin. So therefore, but it wasn't enough to dethrone the road course, master of present day at his bread and butter. So congratulations to SVG on winning, and Kurt Busch's old number 97, and the Dodge SaveMart 350 at the Sears Point Raceway. So there's no road course races left to go this season. So SVG will have to wait till 2027 to tie, let alone pass Jeff Gordon in most road course wins in NASCAR history. So therefore, SVG did not have the best car for once. And right here, we get this shit back for the first time since the last non-COVID year in 2019, literally the month before my sister got married. So therefore, I read that they were going to have it scheduled for 2020 if COVID never happened. So literally, whether COVID happened or not, I knew NASCAR was going to blow up the schedule and make everything totally different and brand new for this current modern era we call the 2020s. So therefore, and I wanted it back from the beginning when they took it off because of all those COVID implications, let alone the butterfly effect of the pandemic, from the vaccine year 2021 to the post-COVID era 2022 to present, whether it be NASCAR, the NBA, and life in general when it comes to my point of view and my history. So therefore, this will be the start of 3 consecutive Sunday night races where, I get to do Sandy Ridge by day and NASCAR by night, especially that first of 3 consecutive weeks with me wanting this OG track and OG race back from the time they took it off the schedule in the COVID year, the pandemic year, the 2020. I really would call 2020 and 2021 as a whole the COVID era, let alone the COVID years. It's just an easier, more simple way to describe it. 2020 was the pandemic year and 2021 was the vaccine year. But regardless, with this race finally coming back, the Tropicana 400 at Chicagoland Speedway being Sunday night, the day after 4th of July, I wouldn't miss it for the world, so I'm fucking looking forward to it. The day after, possibility, the Berea Grindstone Festival, to see Leisha and my boy JJ again, and maybe this time we can get redemption for the sake of my mom, where this time we won't have to worry about her randomly getting sick and vomiting out of nowhere, which is why we almost didn't make it, but somehow we still did, and we barely did, even though that was literally our first time since 2018, not 2019. And I think I remember the reason why we didn't go in 2019 and why the last time we went was 2018 and not 2019, where at least we were able to make Middleburg for our last trip before COVID in 2019. The reason why we didn't make it for our Latrue last non-COVID trip in 2019 and why it was credited as 2018, what would have been our last legitimate non-COVID trip in 2019, we were busy prepping for my sister's wedding, so that's why we weren't able to go in 2019. Now that memory serves me correctly after all this time. But yeah, as far as the Ashley Egan Michael Jackson story goes, yeah, I am not the biggest Michael Jackson fan like the majority of my real life peers are, but because Ashley Egan, one of my work besties and my Amanda sidekick, loves him so much, like most of my other real life peers, both at work and outside of work, I did it more for her than for myself. And literally, even better, I was doing it with, I think was it my right arm? Yeah, it was my left arm. Well, to my left, my arm was hurting. Like, it was sore. Literally, I not only, danced to the whole song for her with that. Well, I not only did that for her with the bum arm, my left arm were being bum. But guess what? I even finished the song with the left arm being bum. So, therefore, that's not only dedication and, being a real friend, but that's also being like Christopher Bell was this past Sunday. One tough son of a bitch. So, and that's literally how you get in shape when you're like, doing physical activity through pain, even when you're hurting, as long as it's not too serious to the point where you would be putting more damage onto the situation. So, therefore, I'm glad I could do that for my young best friend, Ashley Egan, and mine and Amanda's sidekick. So, I look forward to my last day of work tomorrow before we ride off into the romantic sunset, before we go back to our regular scheduled daily lives, or aka regular scheduled daily programming starting, next week. We're not going to have, these, short weeks for a while. So therefore, it'll be back to having, a full on, daily regular scheduled live, each and every day for the foreseeable future. Long story short, we'll be going all 5 days a week at work for a long while. No more very, very short weeks or occasional 1 or 2 days off in 1 week, unless I say something. So therefore, catch you all for the next video. Have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night. And therefore, I will see you guys for the next race review, which will be the Tropicana 400 this Sunday night. And Brook Park Home Days is a go next Saturday. So therefore, the Brook Park documentary, and as far as working on it goes, that was on the back burner, is back on the table. And hopefully we can add more to it this Saturday, depending on how my mom's feeling and depending on how busy we may or may not get. So the next Sears Point trip may be next Friday, the day before we go to Brook Park. And we will have our next haircut adventure really, really soon for the month of July. So that will be a recorded YouTube video, since we haven't done any of that in a very long time. So catch you all for this upcoming content that we got coming for you. And of course, over on TikTok to continue the 2026 Devil's Canyon trilogy as per tradition since 2024. See you later, everyone.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.